Hey folks, finally back with a review on this wonderful tool. This is the Squirt P4 multi-tool from Leatherman. This is no longer being made by Leatherman. It's been replaced by a slightly newer version called the PS4. I'll get to the comparison with that in a little bit. But getting back to the variations, this was originally released as the P4, and then also there was an S4. And the difference there being that the P4 has pliers, as you can see there. The S4, everything was identical except at the end here, instead of needle nose pliers, you had scissors. And then finally there was the E4, the E standing for, I imagine, electronics, and that one had a multi-gauge wire stripper at the end with some wire cutters right at the tip instead of pliers or scissors. It came in a few different colors. This came in the Storm Gray, which is the one that I have here. It also came in Glacier Blue, Inferno Red, and Powder Pink. Those are the color variations, the names, as chosen by Leatherman themselves. So I bought this a couple months ago, like I said. I purchased it from eBay. This is the first one that I bought, and it cost me $17 shipped. And I've actually bought two since then. I bought a second one to have as a backup. And when my wife decided she also wanted one, I gave one to her and I bought a third. And both the second and third P4s that I purchased were $15 shipped. So if you keep an eye out on eBay and you find the color that you want, and then you just kind of hang out and wait till you get it at the right price, you will find one in excellent condition for, on a bad day, $17, $18, and on a really good day you might only spend $12 or $13, and that's including shipping. Just kind of depends on how much time you want to spend, searching them out and bidding and waiting and watching auctions. And you can see this one here. I've carried this in my pocket for a couple months, and it does ride by itself. But even so, it's had a chance to get some wear on it. And you can see those handle scales have very little wear, just a little bit of some scuffs, maybe a little bit of nicks you can see along the edges of the scales there. But I'll say that I got it in really good condition, and it's held up very well. At least riding by itself, it hasn't worn very much. And I've taken out and used it, folded it, unfolded it, many times. So over the 2 months, it's seen enough use to where I would think it might start to get a little bit of pocket wear, but it hasn't so far. I know for a fact if you carry this in the same pocket as your keys or your flashlight, your pen, anything else that's metallic, your odds are very high that you're going to scratch this up. And if you look on the used market, you look on eBay, or you look on some of the forums where someone's selling a used model, you'll tend to find a lot of them are very scuffed up, and I don't imagine that will affect the functionality at all. So if you don't mind that it looks that way and you're just going to put it on your keys anyway, I say save a few bucks and go for one of the cheaper ones that's a little bit beat up looking, and just clean it up, oil it up, and as long as the tools are all clean and functional, you shouldn't have any issues. I wouldn't worry too much about the looks. I kind of was picky with mine because I knew it was going to ride in its own pocket. I wanted it to look as nice as possible while I had it, but just a personal preference thing. Getting to the tools, let's see what we've got included here. We do have pliers, and then I'll fold this closed. One of the nice things about the P4 is that the tools are all accessible, other than the main tool, the pliers, scissors, or wire cutters, are all available while the tool is folded closed. And that's not something you'll always get. For example, here's the older Leatherman PST, personal survival tool, and this one, obviously nothing is available until you actually open the tool. And that still tends to be the case with some multi-tools from certain companies today. But luckily that's not the case with the P4. So on the outside here we have an awl, or reamer, whatever your preference is, hole punch, whatever you want to call it. And then on that same side, we've got a small slotted or flathead screwdriver. And some of these don't have anything to open them with. You can see there that the small slotted driver doesn't have anything to lift out. You just put your nail underneath the edge of it. Most of the other ones do have a small nail nick. And let me back out just a little bit to make it easier to focus, and I'll just bring it up towards the camera. And then opposite those two, on the other side, we have a small, it could go as much as to medium-sized Phillips. It is flat, so it's a two-dimensional flat blade. but it is tapered at the end and it is intended for Phillips screws. And then opposite that we have a medium slotted driver and then a bottle opener. And the bottle opener does work. It's not the best with leverage. It's not going to work as well as a standalone bottle opener, and I wouldn't want to spend an entire evening opening everyone's bottle with it. But I have used it and it does work exactly as advertised. So it's not just a gimmick. It will open your bottles. And then on the other side, we've just got two bladed tools, one being the knife, and this one is made from 420HC steel. It is chisel ground, so we've only got our primary bevel or primary cutting edge on one side. The other side is not ground at all, and it is a full flat grind. There's a small, I guess you could say a little, drop point, I suppose. And it's Leatherman calls this 1.6 inches. I measured at 1.5, so 1.5 inches, give or take a little bit. And it does come nicely sharpened. The one that I bought, even though it was purchased used, the edge obviously had never been used, and it does come decently sharp. And the 420HC from Leatherman sharpens very quickly. So if you're handy with a sharpening stone, you shouldn't have any issues bringing that edge back up to a nice aggressive edge once it's worn down a bit. So nice little decent blade. It's real small, you're not going to do much with it, but it is there and it does work quite well. And then opposite that, we've got a little file, and Leatherman refers to this as a wood and metal file. So one side's a little bit less aggressive than the other, this one being a little bit smoother. See if I can get the texture to show up there. And then the edge does have a bit of the filing texture on it. And then this one is the little cross hatch pattern, and I would say that was probably the one for metal. And I've used this smoother side, I've used it on my fingernails and it works fine. So if you're thinking you can't use it for a little bit of personal grooming, you definitely can. So that's definitely an option. The thickness of the tool overall, counting the rivets, and it is riveted there, but counting the rivets, it's a 1/2 inch from there to there. And the overall length when closed is 2¼ inches from end to end. And then when opened, from snout to tail, you've got 3 7/8 inches. So quite the pocket-sized tool, very light. 2 ounces is what Leatherman calls it. I weighed it on my scale, it came out 1.9 ounces, so I'd say that's pretty darn accurate. So not very heavy and not really going to be a burden in your pocket or on your keys. I don't keep it on my keys because I want my keys as slim and light as possible. And I know it's an issue. People say don't have anything heavy on your keys when you're using it in your car ignition. There's a certain weight limit, and just to avoid any problems with that, it might be best to just chuck it in your pocket. But it does fit nicely in that little 5th pocket on jeans, that little coin pocket. Some people keep their chapstick there. This fits perfectly there. I keep this in my back left pocket all the way at the bottom. And if I'm carrying a bandana in the same pocket, this one just kind of sits all the way beneath that, and it doesn't ever get in the way. And I, getting up and getting down, sitting in chairs, sitting on stools, sitting on the back of the truck at work, and it's very comfortable. I don't even notice it, even if I'm sitting directly on it in my pocket. The handles are anodized aluminum, as we've been looking at here. There is no texturing, so it is very smooth. And I will bring in real quick for comparison. Now this isn't the PS4, but this is part of the newer series. This is the Leatherman Squirt ES4. So if you remember how I said there was the P4, S4, and E4, the P4 and the S4 were replaced by the PS4. So we had pliers, scissors, and now it's pliers and scissors in the same model. And then this was the ES4. So this one is, stating E for electronic again. We've got the wire strippers and wire cutters at the tip instead of pliers. And then the other part of the name, the S, comes in at the scissors. Let me close this up and I'll show you those. And this isn't a review for this tool, but just for comparison. We got scissors on there now, which is lacking on the P4. There are no scissors, but it does have a knife blade, so won't be too much of an issue. If you want to make some precise little cuts, you might be wishing you had scissors, but for the most part the little knife blade will do just fine. And this does have texturing. This has like a powder coat, and to me it feels dusty, like smooth, almost real fine-grained sandpaper, and I actually prefer the feel of the older series better. Even though this is a little bit smooth, it's not necessarily super slick. And obviously if it was oily or wet, it might be a little slippery compared to the newer version, but in 2 months of using it so far, I haven't had that, that hasn't really been an issue. So it is smooth, but you can still get plenty of a grip on it, and there's not too much to worry about there as far as control. It is comfortable, like I said, easy to carry in a pocket. If you are carrying it in a pocket, or if you do put it on your keys, you might want to add, it comes with an included key ring, so you can connect it to your keys. I've added a little lanyard and a bead here, so make it a little bit easier to reach out of my pocket, especially if I'm reaching past a bandana, or if there's something else in my pocket. This just makes it a little bit easier to grab out of there. And the little lanyard attachment point works quite well. It does actually kind of swivel on the joint there, so it'll kind of move out of the way from side to side in your pocket, which is handy. And like I said, it does carry easily in your pocket because it's so small and so light. It's never really an issue. Something to consider is, because it is only 2 ounces, because it is so very light, if you were to drop it out of your pocket and it fell on the ground or something, because it's so small and so light, you might not even notice that you had dropped it. So something to keep in mind. Like I mentioned, it does open with nail nicks, and the tools themselves, once they are opened, sorry, I'm losing my light today, so my focus is getting a little rough at this point, but once each of the tools is open, I have checked them all. There's no wobble or play in any direction. Obviously, these are just engaged with a back spring, so they don't lock. But as far as from side to side, there's no play in any of the joints. So at least in this model, and in the subsequent purchases I've made of this same model, that has not been an issue. So they're very well machined, and they're very tightly riveted without being so tight that the tools are difficult to get out. And overall strength is tremendous. I'm really happy with the the overall build. The fit and finish is great, and as far as the overall strength of the pliers, as long as you're coming at it reasonably, come at it with a brain in your head that you know that this isn't gonna take off the world's largest bolts, and you're not gonna be using this to tear apart a car. But for tasks that the size is obviously suited towards, I would say it's very strong, very well built, and with Leatherman's 25-year warranty, you can be confident that if anything does go wrong with it, you can just send it in and they'll take care of you. They'll get you fixed up. And they do still service this model even though it's discontinued. The only issues you might have with strength would be, the knife blade being long and thin. If you were, obviously you wouldn't pry with the knife, or at least I hope you wouldn't, with the knife or the nail file, but because of the length of it, if you had the tool out and it got dropped or somehow caught between a couple surfaces, I could see that being an issue. And I have seen, even on eBay auctions, when people are selling older ones, used models, a lot of times the nail file is broken off, and I think that's from people trying to use it to, open their soda cans or whatever little prying task they might have, and that little thin metal just isn't up to the task. So as long as you're not prying with it, I wouldn't worry too much about that either. It does perform great. It looks fantastic. I love the way it looks. It's one of my favorite keychain tools from an aesthetic point of view. I just think it looks really slick. I think it looks really expensive and high quality, and I like that. And as far as what I've used it for, you name it. I have used every single tool on here at least once, some of them dozens of times in the 2 months that I've had it. I've used it to unlock a door, or at least to assist in unlocking a door at my sister's house. She and my brother-in-law moved their family into a new house, and my brother-in-law, when we were driving over a bunch of stuff in a U-Haul, forgot the key to get in through the garage. So we got the big garage door open, and then when we went to go into the kitchen, we were stuck. And I used this along with my my Ouija bar, pry bar, and a couple other tools to essentially gain access into the house, and this was invaluable in that situation. So that was a huge time saver, a big lifesaver. The Phillips driver and the little flathead are great for opening battery compartments. I've had to open the battery compartments on toys, on electronics, and they're the perfect size for that. If you watched my CRKT Ripple package opening that I received from a friend named Sean, here on YouTube. If you saw that video where I was opening that, you got to see me use the Squirt P4, and I used the Phillips driver on that to open the packaging of the knife. So that was cool. I've used the pliers as tweezers because the pliers come to such a fine tip, at least if you get a nice model, if you get either a new old stock or you get a nice clean, unabused, sample from eBay or wherever else. The tip on the pliers is so fine you can definitely use those tweezers, and I've removed some splinters with it, so that was cool. I've used the pliers to open a mayonnaise jar, plastic mayonnaise jar lid that has a little tearaway thing on it for whatever reason, and I couldn't get it with my fingers. I was killing my fingernails trying to pry the little thing up, and I just took the pliers and yanked it right out. That was awesome. Used it to open... I'm going to stop. I've used it for so much stuff. Filing my nails. I fixed a tape measure with it. There. That's all I'm going to say. I could go on for 10 more minutes. It's fantastic. It is a great tool. Everybody in the knife and the tool and camping and gear community, they love Leatherman. And it's with good reason. Leatherman makes a quality product with an excellent warranty. And, they back their products all the way. Their customer service is fantastic. They have a wonderful track record. They make some of the most useful tools known to man when it comes to convenient small multi-tool items. I'm going to do some real fast comparisons here just to give you some idea. Let me back out a little bit and I'll show you some other tools that are similar size, reasonably similar price range. This is the SwissTech, and the name escapes me. I think this is the Pro, it's gone. The SwissTech Pro something. This one is I think is the Pro Max, also from SwissTech. These tools are a little less expensive. You'll pay about $10 for these, and these are in some respects more heavy duty than the Leatherman. And I've got a video with an unboxing where I bought a package that has a bunch of the SwissTech tools in it. Check that video out, and I'll put reviews. I'll bring in some reviews on these two later. These are good. They kind of fill a different role, but if you're looking for an alternative to the Squirt series, you do have those to choose from. You can see size-wise. We'll compare it to these guys, let you see how the Squirt stacks up with those. This being your mid-size Victorinox, and here is a Victorinox Classic. Another tool this is probably going to get compared to a lot is the Leatherman Micra, which of course only includes scissors. There isn't a pliers version of the Micra, but there's a little size comparison. It is actually a little bit shorter, but a little bit thicker than the Micra. So if you have a Micra, and many of you probably do, that should give you some idea of how it's going to compare to that. And for another really common tool, something that's quite a bit bigger, every bit as useful, but obviously for larger tasks, there is the Leatherman Wave. So you can see that it is much smaller, much lighter, much more pocketable. And we are at, or at least, we'll see how this video is after I edit it, but right now I'm at 20 minutes, so I'm going to stop. So that is the Leatherman Squirt P4. And like I said, I cannot say enough good things about it. It's an awesome tool from an awesome company, and if you have, between $12 and $20 to pick one up, don't hesitate. Get one and have it on you at all times, and always have the tools that you need whenever you need them. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.